All right. All right, let's see if this works the second time. So sorry about the problems, guys. Give me a second, get all set up here. Nobody's joined yet, so I'm not sure if it's actually gone live or not. I think this is it. Much better, huh? That fixed it? Good. All right, sorry about that, guys. Let me get all set up with the chat again so we can see what's going on. Hang on a second, I'm sorry. Having a hard time here. All right, I think we are about there. All right, there we go. All right, hopefully this is working much better. I'm almost afraid to touch anything now because I'm afraid I'll break it again. But there we go. All right, so we got Andy in here, Antonio, Ben Smith, the cousins, Doug, Wesley Currens, Gear. Ben Smith says looks much better. Good. Round two. Aviario's here. Sean Monahan, hello. And Joe says, any thoughts on dehydrated mealworms as a treat versus live ones? I can't imagine they are beneficial since they are basically dried exoskeletons. I don't think there's anything wrong with dehydrated mealworms. I mean, yeah, it takes the moisture out of them, but it doesn't take the nutrients and those kinds of things out of them. I think it would work just fine as a treat for them. You may have to add some grit or something. If you've got a sandbox, you probably don't have to worry about adding any grit. But if quail are eating something besides, they're just like chickens. If they're eating something besides like a commercial crumble or something like that, they really need some grit to help kind of grind things up in their crop. So, you know, if you don't have a sandbox or something like that, you need to add a little bit of grit if you're going to feed them something else. But I think it would work great. All right, Antonio says, can rabbits eat dog food? Not a good selection for rabbits. No, rabbits are primarily herbivores, and dogs are not. So they have totally different nutritional requirements. It's not that they can't eat it, it's just not a good food source for them, at least not on a regular basis. So stay away from that. Rabbits don't eat meat, not for them. All right, the cousin says, when do you start breeding your rabbits? I breed primarily in the fall, the winter. Normally I would be starting up here in about 2-3 weeks, but I'm kind of still looking for a couple of does. I've got a source for some, possibly. May push my breeding season out just a little bit this year. We'll see. But usually I breed all winter long. I start in late September when the temperature starts to cool off, maybe early October, and then I breed all the way through like May, usually all the way up to about May. When it starts to get hot, I give the rabbits a break and let them have the summer off. All right, Robin says much better. Good, I'm glad to hear that. Rainier, I think I've got that right. Rainier, maybe? I don't know. When do I separate quail roosters from the hens? Well, you don't ever have to separate them if you don't want to, but if you're looking at, you've got too many roosters, you want to separate them out, it's really up to you when you do it. I like to do it before they hit sexual maturity though, because once they hit sexual maturity, which is about 6 to 8 weeks, 8 to 10, somewhere right around in there, the roosters start crowing and then they start breeding the females. And if you've got too many roosters, they will overbreed the females. So it's really best to do it before then, if that makes sense. All right, Onyx ATX says, first time in here, wanted to thank you for the fantastic videos. Started raising quail this year. That was the gap in your meat, in our meat. I haven't bought meat from the grocery store in 3 years now. Well, fantastic. Thanks for joining the live broadcast too. Glad you made it. All right, Aviario says, Chris, this year has been catastrophic for almost every gardener. Boy, it's been pretty rough for me, but that was my own fault. Like I said, I just didn't water the garden. And I still got produce out of it, but not much, not nearly as much as I usually get. And I knew it needed watered. I was busy. I was kind of lazy, I guess. I just didn't do it. I just let it go wherever it would, however it would do on its own, and it didn't do really, really well. You can always tell when your plants need water. They'll start to droop just a little bit. If you're watching your plants a lot, you don't want to wait till they're drooped all the way down. That's too late. But you'll notice like tomato leaves standing up like this, and then the next day they might be like this. And that means they need some water. If you're watching your plants pretty close, you can spot the difference pretty easily. All right, excuse me. Wesley Curran says, so I'm incubating quail eggs, and when I go into lockdown and fill up the water trays, the humidity level goes up, but within a day, it goes down to about 50%. Any ideas how to keep it up? Okay, remember this, first of all, humidity is controlled by surface area, not volume of water. So in other words, this soda can full of water only has a surface area that big around. You could have the same amount of water in a tray this long, and it's going to give more humidity because there's more surface area, if that makes sense. Just the surface is all that controls it. The depth is going to control how long the water stays in there before it evaporates and is gone. So the only thing you can do to increase your humidity and keep it there, you must live in probably a pretty dry climate. Your water's just evaporating very, very quickly. It's not uncommon though, I know I'm kind of babbling here. It's not uncommon when you first add water, humidity is going to jump up and then it will usually level out pretty quick. Two things. First of all, 50% is not that bad of humidity. It's nothing to worry about. I think it's fine. I don't even know if I'd worry about it too much. But if you do want to get it up a little bit more and keep it up there, increase your surface area. So think something with a lot of surface area, like a sponge. If you soak a sponge, it's porous. It's got a lot of surface area in it. That's going to really up your humidity. But it's going to dry out fast as well, so you're going to have to do that multiple times. Now, you should have multiple trays in your incubator for water. You may have to fill up more trays in order to keep the humidity higher for a longer period of time. But just remember, when you fill up more trays, you're adding more surface area, so it's going to raise your humidity even more. Honestly, 50%, that's a pretty decent humidity level. I wouldn't worry about it if you're at 50%. I think that's fine. You might bump it up just a little bit at lockdown, but other than that, I think you're fine. All right, hopefully that answers that question and helps a little bit with that. Where are we at here? Antonio Garcia says, love your videos. Thank you so much. The cousin says, wish I could watch, but I have to go. God bless. Well, God bless you too. Thank you for joining for just a little while. Sorry we had problems. We lost about 15 minutes there. I apologize for that. But thanks for joining for the time that you were here. All right. Real Vibes. There we go. I got it right this time. From Jamaica again. Hello. Glad you're back. Rainier says, how do you breed your quails? Well, there's not really anything. I just leave my roosters in there all the time. One rooster to every 4 to 5 hens. They just live together and they breed whenever they want to, and that's it. You're going to get fertile eggs pretty much all the time. So there's nothing special to do there. As long as you've got enough light, about 14 hours a day, the roosters are crowing, they'll continue breeding, you'll continue getting fertile eggs. And that's it. Really pretty simple. All right, Joe says, thanks, Chris. You're welcome. Not sure what. Oh, on the dehydrated mealworms. That's right. Okay, Jim says, hi, Chris. I purchased 2 sets of solar lights for the quail hutch, so they got a total of 14 hours of light. However, only 2 of my 6 females are laying. Just wondering what's up. Okay, could be a number of different things. Oh, excuse me. Get a drink here. All right, could be a number of different things. If you put light on them, it's going to take them a week or 2 at least in order to start laying on a consistent basis. So give them some time, be patient. Don't expect it to be next day. It takes a little bit of time. Usually a week and a half, something like that, and you'll start seeing pretty regular egg production out of them. Also, don't move your birds around a lot. If you're moving them around a lot, like moving them from one pen to another, or there's a lot of predators around that are really, stressing them out or any of those kinds of things, that will affect your egg production as well. But my bet is that you probably added the 14 hours of light to them, and it hasn't been but just a couple of days. So just give them a little bit of time. Chances are, within a week, week and a half, you'll start getting eggs pretty regularly out of them. Hopefully that is the issue. If not, leave me another comment here in the chat, and we'll address it even further if we need to. All right, Andy says, I'm in Texas. Fixing, that's a text box. Good idea or bad idea? In Texas, it's probably a fine idea. I think it depends a little bit on how well you can control the temperature. For the first week and a half to 2 weeks, they really need good, steady, about 100 degrees, 99 degrees roughly, temperature. So you'll have to put a heat lamp on them or something like that. Put it on one side of the brooder box so they have a gradient. They can get away from the heat if they need to, or under it, and they'll kind of self-regulate a little bit. In Texas, where it's pretty warm during the day and it doesn't get that cold at night, you're probably fine. In Southwest Missouri in the summertime, it would probably work, but in the wintertime, not a good idea. It gets pretty cold out and temperatures fluctuate. It's not uncommon in the wintertime for it to be, 60, 70 degrees during the day, or in the fall anyway. and then drop down in the 40s and 50s at night. That's a pretty big temperature swing. So I don't know that it would work too well. I mean, you could put a, as long as you can control the temperature for them, though, no reason you shouldn't use an outdoor brooder box. That's just the only thing. Keep them out of the wind, control the temperature. All right, Joey says, I went to Lone Star probably, to buy quail feed. They gave me a 50-pound bag for free because I had a hole in the bag. Well, fantastic. Free quail food's the best kind of quail food. Jim says, the current feed has only 1% calcium. Could that be the reason? Also, they were almost 8 weeks old. Oh, okay. Different reason altogether, Jim. You're talking about why your quail haven't laid eggs. It's probably because they're 8 weeks old. Yeah, quail start laying eggs usually between 6 to 8 weeks, but it's very sporadic for about a week or two. So give them, just a little bit of time. Usually, when they first start laying, you're going to get maybe 3 or 4 eggs one day, 1 the next, 5 or 6 the next day, 2 the next, 3 the next, 4 the next. I mean, it's very sporadic for about a week after they first start laying. So give them another week. Chances are, boom, they're going to have eggs all the time. 1% is a little low in the calcium, but it shouldn't affect your egg production. I would try to supplement their calcium a little bit, though. Crushed oyster shell, or if you can find a game bird feed that has a higher percent calcium, you really want somewhere around 2% calcium. That's about the best. But you can offer, crushed oyster shell. Don't mix it in with their feed. Offer it on the side. They'll eat as much as they need to kind of regulate their own calcium. So hopefully that gets it cleared up. All right. Where are we at here? Gangster Gardening. There we go. Gangster Gardening. What a great name. Says, hi, Chris. I got 4 female jumbo quail a few days ago, and when I brought them back, they started laying instantly that night I got them. What am I doing right? Well, you got to realize when you move quail, they're going to stop laying for a little while, but they've got eggs built up inside of them. It's not, they don't, develop an egg and then lay it the same day. It takes, it goes through their system. So it takes a couple of days from the time they develop the egg till it passes through, gets a shell on it, all that kind of stuff, and then gets laid. So when you brought them home, chances are they're just laying the eggs that they already developed. They're probably going to shut down for a couple of days. Don't panic. It's normal. They'll start laying again within about a week and a half. So hopefully that kind of answers that question for you. Harlow says, hey, Chris, have you ever had the James Marie Jumbo meat birds? Yeah. They're supposed to be 16 ounces or more. Yeah, I've had the jumbo, I've got jumbo pharaohs right now, which are pretty much the same thing. There's not a lot of difference. The jumbo meat makers are maybe slightly bigger. I've had them, and I have had some birds that get up to about 16 ounces. They're great stock. I like the jumbo pharaohs, but again, the jumbo meat makers, pretty close to the same thing. There's not a ton of difference. All right, Tundmatu, I think I got it. Tunmato, maybe? I don't know. It says, hi, I'm from Estonia, Eastern Europe, keeping Estonian breed of Coturnix quail, and every Estonian site says that the temperature for keeping quail is 69 degrees Fahrenheit. Should I be worried for the winter? I don't know that there's any difference between an Estonian breed of Coturnix as any other breed of Coturnix. I think they all come from the same bloodlines, but no, I don't think there should be any concern. We get down into 0 or below in the wintertime, and as long as the birds can get out of the wind, they do fine. It doesn't seem to bother them a bit. Your eggs will freeze, but the birds are fine. And it's hard to keep them watered because water freezes. But other than that, the birds themselves, they handle it just fine. All right, Ben Smith says, so last week I put in my eggs, and oh, look at that. Rebecca gave me a $2 super chat. Thank you so much, Rebecca. I think you're going to go broke donating to me. You do this about every week. I really appreciate it, and I do notice it. You say you can't stick around long today. Have a good chat. Thanks for joining us tonight. Even if you don't give the super chat, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. And thank you very much for the $2 donation there. I appreciate that. All right, back to, and you have a good night too, Rebecca. Back to the chat where I missed it. Where was I? All right, but okay, back to Ben. Sorry, Ben. So last week I put in my eggs from Kansas City Quail Farms, and I left them out for 24 hours. I put on the Listerine mix and put them in the incubator. To be continued. Good luck on your hatch, Ben. As long as your temperature is right, you should have an excellent hatch rate. Kansas City Quail Farm has fantastic bloodlines, great producing birds, And great fertility rates in their eggs. You sound like you did the right thing, left them set for 24 hours, Listerine mix, put them in the incubator. You should be set for a great hatch. All right, Samuel Beasley says, hi, Chris, Sam, and Vicky from Powell, Missouri. Again, one of my favorite places in the world. Thanks, guys, for joining. I appreciate it. Ben Smith says, today I candled a few eggs that I randomly selected. All of them were developing, but one had a strange saddleback air cell. Will the egg still be okay? It should be okay. The air cell in the egg, if you guys don't know what he's talking about, it's just the air cell in the egg. Usually during lockdown, that's whenever the bird readjusts anyway. I wouldn't worry about it too much, Ben. I would just let him go through and we'll see. All right, Robin says, Chris, I missed the answer for the dried mealworms. Could you please give the answer again? Thanks. Yeah, I don't think there's any problem with giving dried mealworms to your birds. What I said was it draws the moisture out of the birds the mealworms by dehydrating them, but it doesn't draw the nutrients and that kind of stuff out of them. But you may have to add some kind of grit. A sandbox will be fine. It will add the grit. They'll eat some of that sand they need the grit for their crop to grind that up. So if you're feeding your birds anything besides like a commercial quail crumble, chicken crumble, one of those kinds of commercial bird feeds, then you are going to need to add some kind of grit to give them the ability to grind that up. So hopefully that makes sense and that answers that question. All right. Aviario says, should I help baby quails that are stuck in the egg or should I let them alone? Several different thoughts on that. I'm of the camp where I think leave them alone, let nature take its course. Chances are if you help that bird out, it's probably not going to make it anyway. It's fairly rare for a bird that was helped out of the egg to make it. Usually they can't make it out of the egg for a couple of different reasons. One is they just don't have the strength, so it could be a genetic problem. That bird is just weaker genetically than other birds, so that's why it's not making it out, and it's best to let it just nature take its course and survival of the fittest kind of thing. The other thing it could be, though, is if you are opening the incubator while birds are pipped, the humidity will drop, and a lot of times that can cause them to be shrink-wrapped inside their egg. And even then, they expend so much energy trying to get out that if you help them out, again, usually they don't make it. It's just not a good practice most of the time. But, people do it sometimes and have success with it and have never had a problem. But that's just, again, my opinion, my thought process on it. All right, Aviario says, oh, I got that one answered. Almost Homestead, thanks for the videos. They've been a huge help for us noobs. Just moved our quail to the coop today. Thanks for watching so much. I'm glad that you find the videos helpful, and good luck on your quail that you moved out to the coop. They should do well. All right, Jim says, thanks, Chris. Lights/lane issue. Just one more question. I've been letting them free roam in my fully fenced yard on weekends for hours at a time. Is that ideal or discouraged? If they're staying in your yard, why not? Go for it. The only thing about letting them free roam in the yard for hours at a time is you do open them up to predators. You got to remember that quail are fed upon by more than just like four-legged animals that walk around. Hawks really like quail, so if you have hawks in your area, you may lose some birds to hawks. You may have to provide some kind of overhead protection for them. There is also a slightly higher risk of them getting things like coccidiosis, mites, parasites, those kinds of things because they're in contact with the ground. But that may not be a big issue. I say try it out and see. If it's working, it's working. Why not? All right, Cavell says, quail's 8 weeks old and their backs are not feathered. What can I do? Am in Jamaica. Did they never grow feathers in, or did they just lose their feathers like they're molting? 8 weeks is a little bit young for them to be molting, but if you've got weather changes coming on, I think that kind of triggers it. My birds tend to molt like as soon as the summer breaks and we stop getting those really hot days and it just starts to cool down a little bit, my birds molt immediately. And then same thing in the spring. Whenever the spring comes on, we get out of that freezing and it starts to get like spring is here, they molt again. So it may be that's causing it. Other than that, just make sure you've got enough protein in your feed. They really need somewhere around 25% protein. So, that would be the things that I would check on. All right, John 3:16, good name, says, I did something I'll bet few people have done just for fun. I caught an egg in my hand while being laid by one of my quail hens. Nice. I don't think I've ever seen one of my birds actually lay an egg. That's an unusual thing. I've seen right after they laid, but I've never actually, I don't think I've ever actually seen them lay it. They seem to do it like when you're not looking and on purpose. All right, Musab says, how did you come up with your intro? My name is Chris, even a spare room in your house. To be honest, that's very good. How did I come up with that intro? I don't know. I was trying to have an intro that kind of told people what the channel was about so they knew right away. And that just came to mind. I don't know why. I don't know, honestly. I mean, the Chris part's easy. That's my name. But the rest of it, I just, you know, this is what I do. I try to help you guys raise your own meat, eggs, and vegetables. And I'm a city guy. I'm not, you know, there's lots of channels out there that are homesteaders or farmers or those kinds of things. And I don't really consider myself a homesteader. I'm just a guy, I mean, I have a full-time job. I live in the city. I just raise my own meat, my own eggs, and my own vegetables, produce my own ones from my backyard, sometimes from a spare room in my house. So that's what I wanted, that's what I did on the intro, was to kind of try to appeal to those people so they knew what the channel was about, what they could expect to see on it. And that's what I came up with. Don't know how I did it exactly. All right, Jim says, many thanks from Winnipeg, Canada. Appreciate all the videos and your response. Well, thank you so much for watching. I am glad that you find the videos helpful. Jimmy from Salem, Missouri says, sorry tuned in late, was working on a quail freezer. Hey, you don't have to apologize. Nobody is forcing you to be here, but we do appreciate you joining in. Thanks for coming, whether you're late or not. And you're not that late. We still got about 20 minutes left. All right. John 3:16 says, what do you think is the best way to cook quail? Well, whatever way you like it. That's very subjective. And I think my taste kind of changed a little bit. What I really like right now is to take the breast off and cook the breast by itself. I just think it cooks so well. I've done it several different ways. I did some videos on that. One of my favorites was put a slice of jalapeno and some cream cheese or cheddar cheese, wrap it with bacon, and then broil that off in the broiler, and then baste it with some barbecue sauce or you know, the blue cheese with the buffalo sauce basted over the bacon and stuff. That was pretty good too. There's a lot of different ways, but that's one of my favorites. The fajitas were really good too. I mean, I did those the same way. I took the breast meat off, cooked it like you would chicken breast for fajitas. That was good. Quesadillas, I've done that way, and they turned out really good. Boy, it's hard to say the best way to cook it. Kinsey's here, says, hi, Chris. Hello, guys. Hello to you too, Kinsey. Tund Matu, I don't know if I got that right, says, thank you so much for getting my mind at ease for the winter. They have a box to hide from the wind. I have many live streams from my hutch. Oh, okay, live streams from the hutch itself. Good. Hey, no problem. Glad that I can help you out. Don't worry about it. Birds are going to do fine in the winter. They should anyway. Mine always do. Everybody I've talked to, theirs always do. No, I've never lost a bird to the winter, you know. All right. Robin says, thank you. You're welcome. Musab says, will fruit trees, example, apple, pear, etc., grow in the tropics? I don't know. I'm not in the tropics. I would think that apple, I think they would. I don't see why they wouldn't. Apple may be difficult because actually the apple tree should grow fine. You're going to have a hard time, I think, getting anything to sprout from seed when it comes to apples. I don't know about pears, but I think apples require stratification to sprout. I'd have to look. Apples, usually you're better off buying grafted onto rootstock anyway, not sprouting them from seed. But I don't see why they wouldn't grow in the tropics. You might have some fungus issues, especially with like peaches and some of those kinds of things that are more susceptible to it with the humidity that you have there. But I don't know. You'd have to try it and see. All right, Joe says, I'm late. Hey, don't worry about it, Joe. We had problems at the beginning, and I ended up getting on a little bit late, too. Cody says, how many jumbo quail can you fit in a 12 by 3 foot wire bottom hutch? Okay, 12 foot by 3 foot. You got to figure about 1 bird per square foot is kind of the maximum that you really want to pack in there. Maybe slightly more than that. So 12 by 3 is what, 36 square feet? So you could fit probably 40, 43 birds in there. I would probably, unless it's a grow out pen and you're just growing them out to butcher size, I would probably go less than that. If you're going to keep birds in there all the time, and it's the same birds all the time, I would probably go somewhere around, 27, 28 birds, somewhere around in there, and call that good. All right, Tomato says, one of my quail has gone broody, though. She gathers all the eggs and sits on them till I gather them. I am thinking of getting her own room to hatch them. Any ideas? Why not try it? See, if she's going to sit on the eggs, let her have some. Let her sit on them and see if she'll hatch them out or not. People have had very mixed results when their quail go broody as to whether the birds actually hatch them out or not, and how well the babies do after they hatch out. Some have done with pretty good success. Some have had their birds sit on the eggs and they never hatch. So, Coternics have been domesticated for so long, they've almost lost that instinct, but it does come back every once in a while. Try it out and see. Who knows? All right, 2 girls and an acre homestead. Just moved 40 4-week-olds out. I have some beautiful silvers, nice. 4 weeks old, definitely ready to go out to the grow out pens. I typically move mine out between 2 to 3 weeks, like just a little over 2 weeks old. The last ones I moved out, they were just under 2 weeks old. They were like 2 days under 2 weeks old. I lost 2 birds once I moved them outside. It took a day or two and I lost 2. They were the runts of the group. And it wasn't that cold, but I think it was just a little too chilly for them. And I did lose the 2, but the rest of them were doing just fine. All right, Darwin says, hi, how are you? Darwin here again from New York. Can I have quail in a basement, but it's kind of humid environment in there and not a lot of sunlight? Yeah, you'll need to add some additional light for them, and you'll probably need to add some ventilation of some kind. If it's got windows, open them up, add some fans, get some airflow in there, because otherwise it's going to be nasty. Especially in a humid environment with all the droppings, you're going to have to clean it out a lot. You can do it, but it is going to be some work. You're going to have to do a couple of things to keep the birds happy. You don't want them just sitting in there in a musty, wet environment with their droppings. Dry quail droppings are not that bad. They don't smell that much, but damp or wet, and it's one of the worst smells ever. You need some ventilation in there to get the airflow moving. All right, hopefully that answers that. All right, Cavell, I think I got that right. Just didn't go feather. Okay, you're talking about the birds. Yeah, try to increase the protein levels if you can. If your protein levels are low, see if that helps them feather out. I don't think I've ever had a problem with birds not feathering out. So yeah, it may be a low protein issue. That would be my guess. Robin Real Truth says, what can you add for protein? In my area, the highest I found is 20%. If mealworms would work, how much should I give them and how often? Thanks. Oh boy. Let's see. How much? I can't remember how much mealworms, how much protein they are. You'd have to do the math. Do it by weight. So whatever percentage of protein that mealworms are, you could mix that in with their feed at a ratio. I mean, it just depends on the ratios. I can't remember off the top of my head to tell you exactly how many. I don't know that I'd stress too much about it. What I would do is probably just throw a handful in every day. That should be fine. And it's probably not going to be that big of a deal. If you can't find 20% game bird or higher than 20% game bird food, you might look for a turkey starter. Turkey starter is often a higher protein and it works just fine for quail. So you might be able to find that. Or you might be able to talk to your feed store, wherever you're getting feed from, any local feed stores around you, and ask them if they can order it in. A lot of times they have it available to get, but there's just nobody's asked for it, so they don't have it. They don't carry it on a regular basis. All right. Derb says, can you mix bob white quail with Coternics quail? You can. You may end up with some issues. You may end up with birds fighting a little bit, but you should be able to mix them in okay. Don't expect them to crossbreed or anything. They're different species. They won't successfully crossbreed. But yeah, you can keep them together. All right, Ben Smith says, I have a brooder plate for chicks. All the plate is a metal plate that can be moved up and down and heats up when you put it in an outlet. Yep, I'm familiar with those. And you can go about a ½ inch from the ground. Will this work for quail chicks? It should work for quail chicks. I don't see why it wouldn't. Just watch the birds, If they're all crowded as close as they can underneath it, then it needs to be warmer in the brooder box. If they're all spread out as far away from it as they can, it needs to be cooler in the brooder box. If they're just kind of, walking around all over the place, then it's just right. So you just have to adjust it according to that. But yeah, that should work. I don't see why it wouldn't. All right, McCann, I think it is. Hello to you. Victor says, how profitable is quail farming? I don't know. Good question. I don't do it for profit, so I don't know that I can answer that for you. If you're a very big operation, you'd have to be very, very big, and you had a good market for it in your area, I think you could make a little bit of money at it. I usually sell enough birds out of every hatch to pretty much pay for my quail feed. So it's, you know, profitable in that sense, but I don't know that the market's that good around here for me to do it large scale to make a full-time income. I don't think that can be done. You would have to probably get NPIP certified and then get into producing large numbers of eggs and shipping those out to be hatched in order to be real profitable. That would be my guess, but I don't know that I can answer that. Walter Camp, thank you so much. You gave me a $20, well, $19.99 super chat. That's, I think that's the biggest one I've ever got. I'm a little humbled by that. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. You called it a light donation. I will find my lights, but I just don't know where they're at right at the moment. They're in a bunch of crap out in the garage. But thank you so much. I do appreciate that. Makes me I don't know, makes me feel a little bit humble, like I said. All right. Jim says, how do I select the best incubator and auto turner? For some reason, it's a tongue twister tonight. There are so many kinds online and prices range so widely. Thanks again. Okay, we talk about this every week. It seems like the incubator question. The Hoverbaiter 16. Every time I say that, I'm like, I can't remember. Somebody else spits it out and tells me really well, and it. I don't know how much it was. I can't. All right, are we back on? Let's see, are we back on? I think we're back on now. Sorry about that. Good grief, I'm having problems tonight. I'm not sure what it is. Sorry about that. All right, I was talking about incubators again. I hope that you got all that. Again, the Little Giant incubator, what I can say about it is that if you have problems, the company stands behind their product. So, you know, I had a thermostat go out, called them up, and they just, boom, sent me another thermostat just like immediately. It was no questions asked. So I do like that about Little Giant. But again, Hoverbaiter 1602, I think, is a fantastic incubator. Gets great reviews. Everybody I've talked to says it's one of the best you can get. The egg turner does not, the egg turner with the Hoverbaiter, we got reviews last week from. I haven't used it personally, but what they've told me is that it does not work very well. The Hoverbaiter egg turner, get the Little Giant egg turner and the Hoverbaiter incubator because it fits in there just fine. So hopefully that helps. Or Hoverbaiter 2370, maybe that's it. Either way. So hopefully that answers that question. Don't stress too much about it. Most of those styrofoam incubators, they're pretty close to the same anyway. Any of them you're getting are probably going to work just fine. All right. Armed American says, quail are way too messy to make any profit for. They waste more food than any bird. They do, but you can make feeders that will reduce or almost eliminate that feed waste. The Tupperware containers I have with the holes cut in them does a pretty good job. And I've also seen a lot of people, I need to make some and shoot a video on it for you guys. A lot of people in the Slightly Redneck Facebook group and probably on this video feed right here have shown feeders they've made where they're like buckets with a piece of PVC that's, you know, bent, an elbow basically that goes inside, goes down to the floor almost. And that I think would work fantastic. So, you know, try those out and see, but yes, you're right. If you just give them a bowl of food, yeah, they waste food like crazy. They get in it and dust bath in it and just throw it everywhere. All right. Curvin, I think it is, says, hi, everyone. Sorry I'm late. I have some great news, Chris. I have a total of 40 kits from 5 does over the past 2 weeks. Wow, that's really a fantastic amount of rabbits. That's a lot. Congratulations on your rabbits. Colleen from southeast Minnesota, I think that is. Enjoy your videos. Thanks, and God bless you. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, Tristan says, should I be worried about aggression problems when moving my younger quail into the hutch with my older? I have twice as many younger quail, if that matters. I love the videos, and thank you. I wouldn't worry about it too much. I've had really good success moving my younger birds in with my older birds. The key is you got to do it when they're probably around, less than 8 weeks old. I try to do it when they're about 5 weeks old, somewhere around in there. If you wait till they get sexually mature at 8 weeks or so, then yeah, you're generally going to have some aggression problems. They see them as a threat, I think, and they go after them. But 4 to 5 weeks old, well, probably more like 5 weeks old. They're big enough to kind of hold their own, not get trampled, I should say, but they're not sexually mature, and they seem to just mix in with the birds just fine. It's worked out really, really well for me. All right, Jennifer says, hello, I just bred my first meat rabbits, 2 does, 1 buck, all went well. I learned a lot from watching your videos, so thanks. Well, awesome. Thanks so much for watching the videos. I'm so glad you found them helpful, and good luck on your upcoming kindling. All right, Douglas Welsher says, I have some button quail in with my Coturnix quail. They do just fine. There you go. You could probably mix your Bob Whites and your Coturnix as well. Kervin says, thanks for all your help, Chris. This is our success. It would not have been possible without your videos. Well, I don't know about that. You'd have found a way to do it, I'm sure, but I'm so glad that you found the videos helpful, and I'm glad that things are going well for you. Keep it up. All right. Okay, Tundamadu says, whoa, how do I donate? I sell 2 pounds, I think that is. I don't know what that currency is. It says 2 pounds per 10 eggs at my workplace to my colleagues. I'd like to give some of that back for all the help. Well, thank you so much. You don't have to do that. But if you want to, honestly, it's the super chat thing. You should see at the bottom of the chat, there's a little $ looking emblem. I think you just click on that. You may have to set it up ahead of time. I can't remember exactly how that works, but that's how it's done, is through the super chat button. I've had a lot of people ask me to set up a donation page. I may do that. I feel kind of, I don't know, feels a little bit weird to set up a donation page and ask for donations, but so many people have asked to do that, so I may set one up for everybody. I don't know. All right, Antonio says, my rabbit had babies. Well, congratulations on that, Antonio. I'm so glad to hear that. We got about 10 minutes left, just checking the time. What else we got? Chat suddenly stopped. Oh, it's not available in your region to donate. That's okay. Don't feel bad about that. The thought that counts, and I appreciate you even considering it. Thank you so much. All right, what else we got here? You guys want an update on the light? All right, those of you guys who may not know what I'm talking about, I am working on a light that I think is going to be perfect for like backyard chicken coops, quail hutches, all those kinds of things. It's a solar powered light, and right now what I'm trying to do, it's a super bright light for solar powered, but I'm trying to get a solar panel that will power it enough and to charge it up during the day. It works decently right now. But we're going through some testing with a couple of different panels. Once I get all that done, I'll probably go to like a Kickstarter or something like that, because it's pretty high cost to get the initial shipment made. And I'll make sure I share that with everybody so everybody knows about it. I think it's going to be fantastic. I'm super excited about it. Just got to get it done. And we're in the testing phase right now. I just got some new panels I'm testing out just yesterday. So hopefully, cross your fingers, next day or two, we'll know whether it's going to work or not. All right. All right, 14 hours a day of light. Yep, 14 hours a day is what they need. Will Bob White and Coturnix... Sorry, I got distracted. There's like a hummingbird or something. It sounded like it was flying around my head. I don't know what that was. Maybe it was outside. Okay. Where are we at here? Will Bob White and Coturnix quail breed? No, they will not interbreed. They're different species. So they won't successfully interbreed, no. Cyrus Gus says, hi, thanks for the great videos. Do you have any experience with raising Tibetan tuxedo quail? Do you know if size, eggs production is similar to the jumbo brown Coturnix? They're not nearly as big as the jumbo browns. I have had some tuxedo quails. I do believe that there is a tuxedo that comes in a jumbo now, though. So they're going to be close to that size, but not, I don't think they get quite as big as the jumbo pharaohs, the jumbo meat makers. Those are, as far as I know, the biggest of the jumbo quail that you can get. So yeah, I've had experience with them. They're great birds. I really prefer the standard brown colors though, because you can just look at them and tell that's a male, that's a female. You can't do that with a tuxedo. They have to be vint sexed, and that's a big pain to me. So that's why I stick with the other ones. All right. Onyx says, saw the reloading press in the previous video as well. Mine is next to the baby quail as well. Yeah, well, this is my spare room. So this is where I do my reloading, my incubating, my brooding, plants, start my seeds, you know, this is kind of the catch-all room. So yeah, my reloading press is right over here. I haven't actually loaded up any ammo in a while. I need to do that probably. But I have, let's see, I have a whole box of deer shells that I loaded up like 2 years ago, but I only shoot like 1 shot a year. So it'll be forever before I use that up, unless I go to the range. But with the deer rifle, but who knows. All right, Rainier says, what is a Celadon quail egg? It's a green egg, like a green-blue egg. Perfectly green-blue, no spots on anything like that. And what it is, it's a gene that some birds carry. And they can be any kind of quail. They could be, you know, standard brown color. They could be a white bird. They could be a silver bird. They could be a type, you know, a tuxedo. Any of those can have a Celadon gene in them. If they carry that Celadon gene, actually probably 2 of them to be more specific. But anyway, if they are a Celadon bird, you can't tell by looking at the bird. You'll just know because they lay that blue-green egg. And every egg they lay is going to be that blue-green color. Again, no spots on it, just a blue-green egg. So hopefully that kind of answers that. All right, Walter Camp says, sorry, Kickstart donation is what I meant. I missed a comment, didn't I? Somewhere? I'm not sure what you're saying sorry to, Walter. I must have missed that. Either way. Oh, Kickstart donation is what you meant. Okay, I got it, I think. All right, Antonio says, I have to go. Chris, God bless. Well, God bless you too, Antonio. I'm going to be taking off here in about 5 minutes. Hope you have a great night. Thanks for joining us. Jessica says, have you heard of a colossal Coturnix quail? I found an ad for eggs and can't really find anything on them. You know, I've heard some things about like some colossal birds, but I almost wonder if that's not a just a marketing gimmick. They're just a jumbo bird. I don't know. I'm from Missouri. You got to show me, so I don't really buy all those things that, like, you know, just because they say, oh, it's a colossal bird. I'd have to see it to really believe it. All right, Robin Real True says, Chris, it would be great to see solar connecting videos. Thanks so much for all your sharing with us. You are a great blessing. Have a blessed evening. Well, thank you so much, Robin. What do you mean by solar connecting videos? I'm not sure what you mean by that, by like, I don't, I mean, I have solar on the house. I have solar power on my house, but I had that installed. I didn't do that those connections myself. But who knows? Maybe I'll do something on that at some point. The lights that I'm having made are being made by a company, so they're coming like solar panels that plug into the light. There's not really anything to connect there, but we'll see how it goes. As soon as I get that thing figured out and get it working right, I'm super excited to bring that. I mean, you guys are going to love this light, I think. But I got to get it working first. And I don't want to take a junk light to market. It works great, but it only stays on for like 40 minutes, and you need like a couple of hours. So got to get it working to where it can charge that battery up enough every day. All right. When will you start breeding rabbits again? Well, probably as soon as I get some does. I'm looking for a couple of does, but chances are soon. Probably by mid-October is the plan. We'll see how it goes. Jim Ching says, Is there other ways to mark your quails other than zip tying their legs? They do sell leg bands for small birds. Look for like pigeon bands and those kinds of things. They sell those. You can use those. I don't really know of another way to easily mark them other than that, though. We'll see. Jessica says, me as well. That's why I'm asking, LOL. Me as well. Me as well what? Have you heard of Colossal Coturnix quail. Gotcha. All right, Tanmatu says, I'll try to join in the future, I hope, but I'm on the other side of the world, so it's hard to get on your live stream. It's like 4 a.m. Man, I thank you so much for joining at 4 a.m. That is dedication. I would do this at other times. I've had a couple people request to do it on a weekend. I may try to do it on a weekend, but same thing, man. It's hard for me to do it at other times, too. I work 8 to 5, at least 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, sometimes a little bit more. So it's difficult for me to do it at other times. Thanks for joining, though. I appreciate it. All right. Walter Camp says, thanks for everything. Have a great week. Well, thanks, Walter. You have a great week, too. Appreciate you coming by whenever you can. Judy says, did not have time to comment earlier when y'all was talking about this styrofoam incubators. Oh, styrofoam, autocorrect. If you have one, the best thermometer is a fish aquarium thermometer from my experience. And if you have egg, oh, an egg turner probably, yeah. Okay, that's good advice, Judy. It is always good if you buy a styrofoam incubator to add some external or additional thermometers to it. I always go with like meat thermometers that can be calibrated. Calibrate them first. Don't just take them out of the package and stick them in there. Calibrate them first. Make sure they're accurate. And I always go with 2. So I know that if 2 of the 3 thermometers, you know, 2 of the meat thermometers and the one on the incubator itself built in, if 2 of them are reading the same temperature, then that's probably the right temperature. So it's good to verify though. Those styrofoam incubators have are notorious for the thermostats not reading 100% accurate. All right. Chris Silver says, what will happen if you breed standard brown to jumbo brown? Well, you're going to get brown birds out of it, and they'll probably be a little bit smaller than jumbo. Some of them will be jumbo. Some of them will be probably more standard, but they'll be brown birds. I mean, you're just going to get quail out of it. I wouldn't do it personally because chances are what you're going to have is you're going to get downsized birds. They're going to get smaller instead of getting bigger. That's just my thought. All right, Judy says the best thing to do is to get your babies out as soon as they hatch because my egg turner has killed 20 of my babies in the last week. Actually, Judy, the best thing to do is to take your eggs out of the egg turner when you go into lockdown. On day 14 usually is when you go into lockdown. And they'll start hatching out between day 15 to day 17 or day 18, somewhere right around in there. Take them out of the egg turner whenever they go into lockdown. Close the incubator up, leave it closed until the hatch is done. That's probably your best thing. But yeah, I've had a couple hatch out in the egg turner, and it can definitely kill them for sure. All right, Jessica says, have a great night. Well, you have a great night too. And Rainier says, my bobwhite quail are sitting on their eggs. Nice. Hopefully they will hatch them out. And with that, guys, the chat has kind of slowed down, and it is right at that time. I got to get this wrapped up. Thank you guys so much for joining tonight. Appreciate that. Thanks for joining every week when we do this. Let's see. Next week should be fine. The week after, I've got another trip to the Dominican Republic, so I may or may not be on. We'll talk about that again next week and get that worked out. Thanks again, guys, for joining. Appreciate every one of you. God bless each and every one of you. I hope you have a great week, a great weekend, and we will see you next week. Good night.